All right, readers, it's Tag Tuesday, and I have one I have been really wanting to get to. So let's get started. Hi, readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper, or welcome if you are joining me for the first time. Tag Tuesdays are fun for me, but I often forget about them and I don't do them in a timely manner. So I'm going to try to get caught up. I have a few that I have been tagged in recently, and this one goes back to December of 2025. So I wanted to start with this one because I think it's the oldest one, but I could be wrong. If you tagged me last year or the beginning of this year in a video and you think I might have forgotten, please feel free in the comments below to tell me and tell me what tag it was so that I can get up to date. So this tag was recommended to me by Berna at Berna's Bookish Adventures. And it's been a while, like I said, but it's one of my favorite authors and hers too. So this is an Agatha Christie tag. It's called Decades of Agatha Christie. And she released this on December 2nd. I think she was doing a read along for Agatha Christie last. Well, not it's February today when I'm filming this, so a couple months ago. I did not get to do this tag. I was really just having a little bit of overwhelm in December, but I'm happy to do it today, and I don't think that there will be any disparity in the way that I would have created this, whether I had done it then or now. So maybe one thing wouldn't have been on this list because I just finished that book, but here we go. All right, so first I'm going to give you the prompts for the Agatha Christie books that you love and that were published in each of these decades. So we're going from the 1920s to the 1970s. So I'm going to talk about one of the books that I've really loved in that era, each era. And then there's also, if you didn't want to do this, there's another series of prompts that are called, what are they called? I can't remember. Anyway, there's a number of them. So you can go either way or you can do both, should you choose to do so. So let's start with the decades prompts. And I don't have a lot of these actually physically. So that is kind of sad for me, but also it just is what it is. So the first one is Murder on the Links. And this one was published in March of 1923. And I have read this one, but I would like to reread this one. So I marked it to read since now I'm on Goodreads now and wasn't before when I first started reading Agatha Christie's at a very young age. I want to make sure that I kind of reread all of these at some point, and so I've marked it to read in 2022. But this one has always been one that I've enjoyed. This one is a Poirot mystery. This is book number 2 in his series, his canon. And she also has, of course, used Miss Marple, and you'll hear a little bit about that today, too. But this one is about his associate, Arthur Hastings, and they go to an appointment with a client that they were both supposed to meet, and his name was Paul Renaud. And they learn from the police that Paul Renaud has been stabbed to death on the golf course. And he was buried then in a quickly dug grave, and he was discovered, of course, by the groundskeepers on the next morning. So the suspects are his wife, his son, a neighbor, as I remember. There were several. Someone he recently met it says Cinderella in the synopsis, as I remember, and that I can't remember that really at all, which is one of the reasons I want to reread this. And there was one other person. Oh, he had an unknown visitor the day before. That's what it was. So those people are all the folks that Poirot is investigating, and he and his partner are going to see if they can figure out who killed Paul Renaud. So I encourage you to read that one. I liked it a lot. All right, the next one is Murder at the Vicarage. This one came out in the 1930s. This was October of 1930, and I have read this one at least twice, maybe 3 times, and I plan to probably read it again because it's a very fun one. It's the first Miss Marple one, so for me, that's always a treat because I really loved her more than Poirot. So what happens in Murder at the Vicarage is there's a man named Colonel Prothero, and he is so hated by everyone, including the vicar in this community, which says a lot if a vicar doesn't like somebody, right? And so people, there's no stop or end to who could have killed Colonel Prothero, but he is indeed dead. And of course, Miss Marple is going to try to figure out who killed him. I can't remember if I think he was shot, which doesn't happen as much in that are set in England, but it does happen. And so I think he was killed indeed with a gun, and they have to try to figure out which one of the hundreds, probably, of suspects, not hundreds, but which one of them might have shot Colonel Prothero. I really recommend this one too. All right, this one I have a physical copy of in this format. This is one that I didn't not too long ago got a number of these at a yard sale, and I've had at least one other copy of this book, but as you can see, there's the body in the library. This one came out in February of 1940, but this is about Colonel and Mrs. Bantry, and they find a dead body in their library one day, and she's a blonde, and nobody seems to know who she is, but everyone has a theory about what happened, and so there is an investigation, of course, and this leads them to a hotel in the nearby town of Danemouth, where she worked as a ballroom dancer and a bridge hostess. So there's a little bit of scandal around this particular woman. And I remember clearly that a friend of hers also comes in, and there's a big investigation, of course, by Miss Marple, and lots of other people are suspected just because of their relationship with this woman. And I really like this one. It's a super short one. All of Marple's are short, and all of Poirot's are typically short. But I really, that one stays with me. And that's book two in the Miss Marple series. So you could continue in order if you started with The Murder at the Vicarage and then went to The Body in the Library. This one's been adapted more than once too, on different BritBox and other places that have done little either series or movies about them. All right, the next one was published in the 1950s. This is after the funeral. It came out in May of that 1953 or 55. I can't read my handwriting, somewhere around that time. This one I read recently. Let me see if I can tell. August of 2016. I don't think I had read this one before, so that was really a treat for me to have a new one that I hadn't gotten to. This is also a Poirot. It's number 33 in the Hercule Poirot series, so it's quite down the list, if you will. But I enjoyed it. This one is about Cora, who is murdered. She's the sister of a master of a Victorian mansion, and she's suddenly killed, and with a hatchet in this case. And the thing that she said the day before her brother's funeral is the thing that is sort of needling at Poirot and some other folks as well, because she said at the reading of his will, kind of softly, she said, "It's been hushed up very nicely, hasn't it? But he was murdered, wasn't he?" So there's a number of family members. They're all coming together for this funeral. And then, of course, Cora is also killed. So they have to deal with that. And Poirot ends up saving the day. I noticed Berna has not read this one yet. So I need to just, if you're watching this, Berna, I recommend this one. I gave this one 4 stars. I didn't rate the ones I read back in the past because I don't remember enough what I would have rated them. But in this case, this one I did since it was pretty recent. All right, 1960s, A Caribbean Mystery came out November of 1964. I have read this one a long time ago and came out in the US in 1965. So this is Miss Marple's vacation to the Caribbean. She's on a cruise ship, and of course, murder ensues, and so she has to solve this. So in this case, the woman who was murdered was talking about another murder case on the ship, and someone probably overheard her or heard her directly, and so now she's been murdered as well. And the goal for Miss Marple, of course, is to find out who killed her and maybe who killed the first person, if I remember correctly, but I might not be remembering correctly because it's been a while since I read it, but this one was fun. I do not have a copy of this one either. I wish I had my old copies, but I don't, so I just need to be okay with that because, yeah. And then the last one came out in the 1970s. It's November of 1972, and that was the last year that she published novels. And I had a copy of this one, and I think I must have unhauled it because it was a library book and it wasn't in great shape, and I probably thought I'll just replace it later with something that's a little bit looks a little bit better. This one features Hercule Poirot and Ariadne Oliver, and it is called Elephants Remember because there was a double suicide that may have had a murder situation going on it, and there's a central kind of plot about memory and about what people have said in the past and what they're saying now or what they have said recently. So there's a lot of different moments where there's a problem in this evidence. And so, of course, Poirot and Ariadne have to figure it out. I enjoy Ariadne Oliver or Ariadne Oliver a lot as well. I've read, I think, all of those that feature her, but yeah, this one is good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very, very much. All right, so let's get to the ones that are in the other prompts that you can use that don't have to be Agatha Christie titles. So the first one is an unexpected plot twist, and for that, I'm recommending Alice Feeney's Daisy Darker. I really loved this one. This is a closed circle mystery, which you know I love as well. They assemble for an 80th birthday party for their Nana in a Gothic house on a tiny tidal island, and they're back together one last time when the tide comes in and they will be cut off from the rest of the world for 8 hours. This one had a very unique plot twist, which is the prompt that this fulfills. So Berna had created these prompts, and when she said unique, unexpected plot twist, I was all certain that this was the one. So again, I really highly recommend that one. The next prompt is a book deserving its hype, and I would say that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is a fantasy, which you know I don't read a whole lot of, but it's always been a favorite. I remember it. I want to reread it. We all read it. Well, maybe not my son didn't read it, and I don't think my daughter Sarah did, but three of us read it at the same time, essentially, and we all loved it equally as much. This is a special copy that I got of it, and I do love this copy. I don't know if you can still get your hands on it, but it's so rich and beautiful. So this is about a woman in France in 1714, and she's with her family in the start of this book, and then she goes off into the forest and she makes a deal with someone at that time, which changes her life. And essentially that means that no one remembers her. So anyone who meets her doesn't remember her, which of course begins by saying her family doesn't know who she is now either. So she goes on these different adventures throughout all these different places, and she meets different people who of course don't remember her. She has momentary, one day kinds of experiences with them, but as soon as they don't see her anymore, she's forgotten until she meets someone who doesn't forget her, and she can't quite figure out why. It's gorgeously written. It's very propulsive, and I absolutely recommend that one, but it is definitely worth the hype. This one is a book that deserves more hype, I think. I just finished this, A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. This is my first novel by this author, and I really enjoyed this. Perfect to read in the winter, which seems to be lingering, so you've got some time if you want to do that. Theodora Scott meets Connor, and he's very wealthy. And he is also a member of a large family, and they own a mountain. And so I know. So they all have little cabins up there, and he brings his fiance, Theodora, to this place to meet his parents and his family. There are a number of people who are seemingly liking her and a number of people who are seemingly not. But what this book really sort of revolves around is she discovers accidentally that she's been there before and she has no memory of that as a young person. So she tries to remember what happened to her and when she was young, and she really doesn't. Her mother was killed, and so she's been alone all of her life. And I loved the way this developed, and I loved the different kinds of characters. It was pretty fast to read as well, and I think it deserves a little bit more than it gets, and I can't wait to read some more novels by her. The next prompt is to read a book with a great sidekick, so I chose this one, which might surprise you. I had a little trouble with this one because, I mean, not this book, but this prompt, because I don't know of I had a few that were multiple sidekicks. This one, I really went, oh yeah, no, that would work. So Amor Tolls, The Lincoln Highway. chunky one. I have only apparently tabbed two little places. And this one is about a man named Emmett who was in prison and he'd been there for a while and he's released to go home only to find out his father had passed away, which he knew, but he only finds out when he goes home that his father was in great debt and that home is no longer his. He has an 8-year-old brother named Billy, and that is the sidekick that I loved in this particular book. I really think that this was so well done. I think this was a 5-star read for me. And there are lots of other characters, and some of them are not so likable, but even one of the unlikable ones I liked. I didn't hate any of them for sure, but it's very complex because they're on this trip to go find their mother because Billy wants to find their mother and they don't have anywhere to live. And so they go on this trip. And as I remember, Emmett did not really want to go meet the mother because she wasn't very good mother to them, but nevertheless, that's where they go, and lots of things happen, and it goes round and round and up and down, and I loved it. So I recommend that one for the sidekick, but also just for the plot. Number 5, a book with a supernatural element. That's Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I love Blake Crouch, so you can't go wrong with any of these, but this one is about some gene therapy. So the character in this is Logan Ramsey. He feels sharper and able to concentrate more now, and he can multitask and read faster and all those things, but then something's actually happening to his brain and to his body. So he starts to see the world and those he loves in a brand new way. And there has been an altering of his genetic makeup. His genome has been hacked. And so this goes back to his history as with his family, and it goes through a lot of different things that are really supernatural and what is the future of the country. And I would like to reread this one. I would like to reread all the Blake Crouches. This is definitely a supernatural element for sure. And then the last one is not the first one I talk about all the time, but the second one in this series, which is A God in Ruins by Kate Atkinson. And this prompt is a great finale to a series. I was sad that this was the end, but really there probably was no other way to go than this character. So in the first character, she goes through a different number of lives in different places and different time periods. And in this one, this is about her brother, whose name is Teddy. And he was younger than Ursula, and he was going to end up being a poet and a pilot and a husband, father, and grandfather. So you go through his whole world as you see what happened during this change, the changes that occurred in his life, in his time. And I absolutely loved this one. I did not love it as much as I loved Life After Life, but I did absolutely enjoy this. This was a 4-star read for me, and it says it's an ingenious and moving exploration of one ordinary man's path through an extraordinary time. So he's not going back and forth like Life After Life, but he definitely is real remembering, or you're hearing about his history and how he develops, how he grows, what he goes through in life, and it's incredible. So I don't think it gets enough hype either. And again, that one is a great finale to that series, which is just a series of 2. So I finished a series a long time ago. I am going to be working on that soon too, because it's important to me. But thanks for watching today. Thanks for supporting me with your comments, your likes, all those things that you do. If you'd like to leave a comment today in the post, I'd love to know if you've ever read these, if you enjoy these, if you want to read these, that kind of thing. You know the drill. So just, choose to tell me what you want me to know in the comments below. And as always, happy reading. Bye.